When the pioneers moved to the Salt Lake Valley, early church leaders were interested in creating a city with style. In his new book, Salt Lake City's Historic Architect, author Alan Roberts describes how they were able to build a city unlike anywhere else in America. Sam Penrod shares the story.
When the early pioneers entered the Salt Lake Valley in 1847, with them came the visions and hopes of making the desert blossom and to build a place that would be like unto Zion.
The pioneers were led by Brigham Young, who was a glazer, painter. He had background in building and architecture, and he had very strong opinions about architecture and how the town should be laid out. The very first people that came included a lot of craftsmen. They were generally trained as carpenters or masons or in some other building craft, and then as they became experienced, they became builders and contractors, and then some of them became architects. Truman Angell didn't come here as an architect. He came here as a carpenter and a joiner, and he was the one who designed most of Brigham Young's early projects, the temple, the Beehive House, and Lion House. So we had formal, substantial masonry Greek Revival buildings almost from the beginning. We didn't really go through this log cabin phase that a lot of early towns went through. Brigham Young, he was thinking of the second coming, the millennium. He wanted permanent buildings that would last until that time.
As other cultural and ethnic influences entered the valley, they also had ideas on how the city should look. These buildings added a new dimension to the growing city's landscape.
The dichotomy is strong if you look at the buildings that were built around Main Street and South Temple. You had ZCMI and a lot of the Mormon co-op buildings, but then between 3rd and 4th South, you have Exchange Place. You did have these two competing commercial districts. They add a great variety and richness to the whole diadem of architectural jewels that we have. It's Mormon, non-Mormon, it's various ethnic groups, different styles, different architects.
As the city grew, everyone could see the need to work together to build their city. They joined forces on several buildings that still stand today, including the City County Building and the Hotel Utah, now known as the Joseph Smith Memorial Building.
It was another example of Mormon, non-Mormon cooperation. Probably the most important project. It needed to be supported by both groups because the hotel would be open to everyone. And it was a marvelous piece of basically Italian Renaissance or Second Renaissance Revival architecture. I think it's a spectacular piece of architecture.
Due to the unique history of Salt Lake and the combined efforts of many early settlers with their own inherent creativity and experiences, it's a city that has a style and charm that continues to speak today about the founding fathers of Salt Lake City.
There's not an individual style that distinguishes Salt Lake. These are wonderful cultural, artistic, architectural resources and worthy of preservation, and it'd be great if we saved the ones that we still have.
Sam Penrod for Mormon Times.
And Mr. Roberts is currently working on the new book, Brigham's Architects, 100 Utah Pioneer Architects and Builders, which should be out sometime this summer.